Hi, everyone. It's Grace.
And Emily.
And today we have a very special guest.
Hi. It's Leah. I'm back. So excited to be.
That's right. Leah is back with us in the studio. And we are so excited to catch up and hear how the past few months have been.
Yes.
Because a lot has happened in your life since the three of us were all together here.
All the things.
And I know our listeners want to hear about it too. So we'll be right back after this short break.
We're back.
Yeah, we're back.
And we're at the table together.
I know. It's been so long.
How does it feel compared to the last time that the three of us were at this table?
What were we doing?
Well, we were doing the goodbye video.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like a whirlwind.
So, Leah.
Yes.
How have you been?
That's a big question.
I know.
How have I been? I've been really tired. I've been like so excited and so energized. I've been a little nostalgic, which is funny. Millie's 4.5 months old. So just thinking about like the first, like, I don't know, just even weeks when she was born. And you're just, I mean, for me, it was like, oh my God, what has happened? Like literally the biggest BC to AD someone can have, you know? It feels like, so far for me at least, so far it feels like it's having a baby. It's like, it's your life completely changed. So yeah, nostalgic a little bit for some of the beginning days of, you know, things that you don't know until you become a parent and you're taking care of this baby and learning that they need shushing or how to swaddle or, you know, the things that I never thought I'd be talking about on a regular basis, but I do now. So yeah, nostalgic, but also like excited to be back, of course. Excited to be back with you guys. And it sort of feels like there was a puzzle and all the pieces flew up in the air and a few got added. And now I'm wondering how they're all going to fall back into place. And I know it's going to look different. And I'm like excited and I feel very like light and open about that.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but the day that you went into labor, your husband, Tim, texted Emily and me. Or maybe, or I was going to say he slacked us. He couldn't have slacked us. He texted us.
And it was actually so funny. He was like, Leah's supposed to get you this document, but she's going to labor. We were like, don't worry about the document.
It was the newsletter. He was like, I know she was supposed to send it to you guys. And I was like, okay, like I think there are bigger fish to fry.
I totally forgot about that.
It was very
so
nice of him to be worried about the show.
Yeah,
of course.
and we were just very touched to be included in this like very personal moment. So we knew when you went into labor.
Yeah.
But since then, the three of us have not had a chance to talk about like your birth story. If you want to share some of it.
Yeah. Hilarious. I completely of course I forgot about that, but I forgot about that. But I definitely was like, text Emily and Grace because I knew I was like, of course, as I'm trying to get this thing done at some point in the next like few weeks, because she was born a few weeks early, she shows up. So I totally forgot about that. And of course I would include you all. The funny thing is, if for people listening who've never had their own podcast or worked with producers, is like, it is so personal. Like, you know so much about me and we get to know each other so well that it does.
Our prep meetings are talking about how we feel about topics. Right. You just end up becoming personal, even if you're like, I'm going to be professional.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like by the nature of the work that we're doing on the show, it's going to be personal. So of course. And what was your question? This is also, this is one of the biggest surprises is how much I forget things and how much I stumble over words these days.
That's
Keep
fair.
going. Yeah.
No, the question was,
tell us the birth story.
Tell us your birth story.
Okay. So Millie was born at 2:46 in the morning, so I'm really going to tell you about the day before she was born.
Right.
One of the things I wanted to do before I had Millie was I wanted to find positive birth stories. I was feeling like our show is a lot about transformation and change and transition. And that means that oftentimes people are coming to the show or we're coming to our guests from a place of, I'm struggling with something and I want it to be better. I was finding that I was getting a lot of like the struggle stories, which are totally fair, valid, and like, wow, I've been opened up to a whole new world of what parents, but especially birthing parents, experience. And I really wanted some positive stories. Yeah. So I started looking for them. And I also, from a birth story perspective, beforehand, you guys know, like, I love to know things. Like, in fact, my therapist is like, you have a problem not knowing things. And I was like, you're very right. That is a soft spot. But like, I love to know things. And this was the one thing that like, we went to classes, we did all that stuff, but I honestly did not know. Like, no one can prepare you for this. You could read every book and it doesn't matter. And so in like November, I just decided that this is the one thing I couldn't control and that I would actually release control, which is a challenge for me. That like I would just let it go because I didn't even really have a personal enough reference point. Like, people can tell you all sorts of things, but it's your body, it's your family, it's your world changing. And I actually think that served me so well in the process of giving birth to Millie because I also didn't really prepare that well aside from laying clothes out and stuff out on a bed. I didn't write a birth plan. I didn't know I had 5 OBs within my practice. So I didn't know which would deliver the baby because we couldn't choose. Like, there were so many unknowns. I knew what hospital I was going to and that was about it. And I knew I was going to try to get a solo room like Beyonce, not a wing, but just a room.
Did she have a whole wing?
I think she took a wing.
I'm sure she did.
Fair.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you? Like, we all would. So I kind of went in blind with like beginner's mind is something we talk about in, mindfulness training. And so we had a great time. Like, aside from, painful, yes, all of those things. But I have an amazing partner. Tim is fantastic. He was there every single step of the way. He was there the entire birth. He was there for every class, for doctor's appointments, like he did everything. And so I felt really well supported, which probably also helped me in not feeling like I had to have this big plan as I had someone I could rely on. And so like after giving birth to Millie, what I found was many people who had difficult experiences, this doesn't take away from how difficult they were, but sometimes the difficulty in itself is just saying, I had this plan and this is what happened. And it did not go according to plan. And it happens all the time. So yeah, I mean, my birth story feels fairly straightforward in the sense that like I went into labor. I actually didn't know if I was in labor or not. So it started with me using Reddit to try to figure out if I had in fact gone into labor. And Reddit confirmed for me. Correct.
God love Reddit.
God love Reddit. It's changed my life. Like my motherhood journey is like peppered with Reddit threads.
I love that you're on Reddit now.
I know. I'd never
like so
used it before.
Brand, but like so right for this.
I know. I mean, God,
stage.
finding the strollers on Reddit and just like listening to reading people's responses and little arguments. It's fun. It's drama, but it's also so much information that I love. So I went on Reddit and realized I probably was. I called my favorite OB. She was like, okay. She's like, listen, don't run, but walk quickly to the hospital. Okay. Like, get yourself there. I was like, okay. So then I really start freaking out. And like, how funny, right? I didn't grow up in New York City. I grew up in California. So these moments feel so New York because we didn't get in our car. We like hailed an Uber, got in, and the Uber is like, hi, guys, what's going on? And like, Tim is like, I'm going to lose it. And it felt like in the movies in the 90s, like a step on it moment in the taxi. Yeah. And so we end up, getting to the hospital. And then I just like roam the hallways until they let me go and change. I learned so much, and like I won't share every single detail, but I'll say that like for me the process felt pretty like calm, pretty straightforward. I was in a room with my husband having popsicles, like sneaking a bunch that I probably shouldn't have had, and having water for 12 hours was my labor time. I pushed for like an hour 15, turned on meditation music. We did breathing exercises together while I was in labor and active labor. And then Millie was born and Tim cut the cord, which was really cool. And they put her on me. And I mean, you can't help but just cry because you're like, oh my God, this human, we had a baby. Yeah. And you're like, oh, we have a person.
It's so amazing. I mean, I always think about that quote. Have you guys heard this? It's like, they describe birth as like the most ordinary miracle.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. And yet,
you're like, how?
So crazy.
Oh my God. Yeah. We look at her all the time and we're like, what do you mean? This is ours. Like, I mean, you get home with this little human in a car seat and you're just like, so now I bring it in?
Yeah.
Now it lives with us.
I love that. I love that.
Forever?
Yeah.
What was it like the moment that they put her on your chest?
I actually like two things. One is it was a crazy feeling for me in the sense that it's just like I've never thought of myself as a mom. Like I've never thought of myself as someone super maternal. I've never been the person who's like, I can't wait. I knew I wanted a family, but to have a person put on you and to know that that person's been with you for the last 10 months. Yeah. Pregnancy is 10 months, people. That's something else they don't really teach you. And so 10 months, 40 weeks, she's been with me, and to have like to see her, you don't know what your kid's going to look like. You know, you don't know anything. You don't know like if they'll have hair or not, like skin tone, like, I mean, everything, eye color, all of that. It's all a surprise. So it was such a crazy feeling. You can't not bawl your eyes out. And I will also say, just I think in service of moms, that everyone feels different in that moment, and not everybody immediately gets to hold their baby, right? But one of the things that one of the doctors I worked with pre-delivery said to me was, it's all a process. She's like, so if your baby's born and you don't feel like your heart just grew 10 times and this immediate crazy sense of love and all of these things, just know that it's a process. It takes time. And it actually, it sounds so logical now as I describe it, but like, you are birthing a new human who is going to, it's their life, just like for all of us. It definitely puts a different spin for me and perspective on the fact that like my mom had a human that was going to live her own life no matter what. And like her job, and I said to Tim in the first week Millie was born, I was like, literally our job is just to guide her and make sure she becomes the best person she can become. And like, how hard is that? I'm sure it only gets harder. Right now, she's just like looking at us like, you guys look funny. Like, this is like, my vision just got really good and you people are funny looking, you know, like, and she's just silly, but like, yes, that will get harder. And so she's a person. And so like, we've had to get to know her, and her personality is just starting to show up. So like, I felt permission to go, all right, yeah, I'm going to cry my eyes out, but also I'm tired. And also, wait, I don't get to sleep all the time. I wake up every 2 hours and feed this human. Like, yeah, it's kind of an alien, crazy situation that people don't really prepare you for.
We'll be right back with more from Leah after the break. And we're back with an update from Leah.
I'm curious, as you tell this story, Leah, the thing that's so interesting and why it's so fun to hear people's birth stories is just all the different ways it could go. Like you said, it's unpredictable. And you can read these books, but you can't really prepare. And to me, that seems like the perfect recipe for anxiety. Like this huge event on the horizon, you know your life's going to change, and you can't really know how your experience is going to go. So I'm really curious. You talked earlier about like how it was important to you to try and give up control.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you went about trying to do that? And I'm really curious if all the work you've put into learning mental health tools and thinking about this, like how that supported you in your journey.
Yeah, I guess the first thing I'll say is like, during my pregnancy, I was diagnosed with perinatal anxiety, which I'd literally never heard of. A friend of mine experienced perinatal depression and told me about it. And I was like, I don't know what that is. Nobody talks about that. Postpartum, we hear about much more. But even still, that feels like a kind of like unexplored concept if you're not looking for it specifically. So that was the first step for me in recognizing that like, okay, my hormonal imbalance and the things going on in my life were tipping so far, I needed to actually like work with someone. And luckily my OB practice had someone that they recommended. And she's a maternal psychiatrist. So she's like, I only work with moms. I only work with women who are postpartum or pre-delivery. And so, she ended up recommending me to a group that works with people on anxiety and specifically OCD, which was a new concept for me to even be thinking about in relation to myself. I was going through a lot of, and we've talked about this before on the show, intrusive thoughts, but they were worse. And it was really hard to control. And I'd never really tried to with a professional. I'd listened to books and like I'd done a lot of that work, but I knew because I was having a baby, I needed more. And so one of the tools that I used with this woman, Allison, who I will say, like, the work I did with her was more meaningful than a lot of the work I've done in any therapy or anything else, because it happened at a time when I really needed it. And it was the type of work we did together is called ERP. And it's about exposing yourself essentially to the things that you fear. And that can be really scary. So like most people don't want to do that. So I danced around that work for a long time. But when I realized that like Millie, I was having a baby and that baby could be impacted by how I was working through my anxiety, I was like, I got to do this. Yeah. So one thing I'll share is, which you all just reminded me of. Like I literally pulled out my phone because I was like, ooh, right, a good tool. Something that they talk about in this work is scripts. And they have script prompts that allow you to essentially like kind of like Mad Libs, like fill in the blanks. And so I'm going to read it to you so you know kind of the work that I was doing. I'm happy to also read one of my personal scripts. But the general script is about being able to give up control, and the I'd say the baseline of the work that I did was being comfortable with uncertainty. And Allison would, as I would talk through different fears I had, go, maybe. And I was like, that is so uncomfortable. I'm like, wait, you're supposed to be making me feel bad.
Yeah, you're supposed to say it's not going to happen.
Right, correct. It's like, I'm like, there's only 1% chance. She's like, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I'm like looking at you like I don't have any like
left,
which I guess is the point.
Air. Correct. That's the point.
But like straight up, maybe. Like,
but for real. Yeah,
for real.
But maybe. So like then what? But then what?
Yeah. So let me read you the script. It's not just like maybe. Bye. I'm willing to live in a world where you add in your core fear. I wake up and I have the thought that. So, let's just say for me, it's like I wake up and I have the thought that like, what if I'm the one that does something harmful to my baby? Which is, I know, tough to hear, but it's real. And God, the amount of mothers who have told me they've felt this
so
now.
Common.
Right.
So common. So this script goes, I'm willing to live in a world where I could be dangerous, for example, right? Set the scene. So I wake up and I have the thought that I could be the person that causes Millie harm. I have the urge to worry about it. You add in your assurance, your avoidance, or your mental review. So for me, I do a lot of ruminating. Oh my God, what if? Worrying about it. I have the urge to go worry about this thing that I'm afraid of doing. And I'm almost thinking if I worry, I'll worry it into not happening. It's like the more I think about it, the less it'll be likely to happen, the more I'll scare myself and like almost make myself so small that I couldn't do anything at all, which is what happens a lot with intrusive thoughts and with anxiety. However, I am in treatment, so I do not give in to these compulsions. I resist the urge. And then let's imagine that all hell breaks loose, that I am dangerous. I'm willing to take this risk because I wanted to create a family with someone that I loved, and because I wanted to meet a human that was the combination of me and my husband and build something that we couldn't have built on our own. So I'm willing to live in a world where I could be dangerous and I'll move on. And that's the script, is you're just like, I'm willing to live. So my actual script was, it's possible that I am going to have bad thoughts about me or Millie. It's possible that the thoughts are true. It might feel urgent to figure out whether or not she's safe with me. I might be dangerous. Despite that, I'm willing to do all the things related to motherhood. I'll hold her, I'll cuddle her, I'll feed her, I'll do tummy time, I'll change her diaper, because this behavior is aligned with my values and I want to be able to enjoy this precious time with my family. So like when you write that and you read that, I go, well, it's one of the big things that happens when you have intrusive thoughts is you go, I'm a bad person. There's something wrong with me. And the script also helps you recognize that like, you're not your thoughts, you're your behaviors. You are the sum of all the things that you do, and your brain is a place to play with stuff, and it gets messy up there. And the things you do are very different than what's going on in your head.
So the process of releasing control is you have to accept all possible outcomes and learn to live in a world like that really hits for me. And I do think that's possible. Like when you get over like squealing about it not happening once you get over it, like and you accept it. Yeah.
Well, you realize that all you're doing in anxiety is you're spinning up stories about the future, like what could happen, right? But the whole point of life, like not to get too deep, guys, but like why not? The whole point of life is like be here now. And if you can be present, then you can't be worried about the future thing that you're freaking out about what if you're dangerous, what if it's literally just like, I don't think about the entire script anymore. I just think about just the phrase, I'm willing to live in a world where, and like filling that in, or just like, I'm willing to live in a world. Like, I don't know why even that's like soothing to me. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess part of the challenge with anxiety is like, I'm worried about the world.
Right.
You know,
live in a crazy world.
That you can't control.
Yeah. And like, what if I'm part of the problem is one of the, and there are many, you know, intrusive thoughts people have, but it's like, I'm willing to live in a world. And then anyway, and I named her Carla, my intrusive thoughts are named Carla. Thanks, Carla. I no offense to anyone who knows someone named Carla or loves someone named Carla or who is Carla. It popped into my head. I actually had a friend named Carla in middle school, so it's no offense. But I just named her Carla. And like, there's something about putting the thing outside of you. Like, I think we've talked about this maybe before, but one of my favorite books is called The Untethered Soul. And the author, Michael Singer, describes this as your inner roommate. And he says, if all the thoughts you had that were so negative and so like detrimental to you as a person were actually personified as a human that was sitting next to you on the couch at night while you're watching TV saying everything that voice in your head says, would you ever want to have anything to do with that person? No, you go, they're insane.
Right. You'd be like, Carla is such a drag.
Yeah, Carla's the worst. Who would ever hang out with her? Yes. So I'm just like, all right, Carla, nice. What else you got? You know, like I've just gotten into the like,
and
okay,
it's not about like killing her either, because like you can't. I've heard anxiety described, not intrusive thoughts specifically, but general anxiety described as like a bird on your shoulder. Like you just have to like learn to live with like the little feet.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's okay.
Nice.
Like the bird is not going to go away. Yeah. But like you can live with it.
And that's what they say in the beginning of this process. And honestly, what I think a lot of people who do anxiety work say is it's not about being completely void of any anxiety. Right. Anxiety is healthy and we all have some level of it at the like point where it's clinical, you know. Of course, the idea is to not have such strong reactions. I mean, I was having like panic attacks going into the subway.
Yeah, that's too much.
Too much, right?
You don't tolerate
Body
that.
has gone, into overdrive. But it's actually just to turn down the volume. Like, it will be there. The intrusive thoughts, like, one of the biggest things people say about intrusive thoughts is like, they're not going away. Yeah. Like, so if your goal of working through them is to get rid of them, you're in trouble.
That's even a world to live in,
I know.
Right?
I'm willing to live in a world. And you know what also, guys, I will say, the minute you tell somebody the kinds of thoughts that you have, if you are someone struggling with that, whether you're pregnant or not or whatever, you will have so many people coming to you going, oh my God, me too. Like I was on 3 months into having a baby, I was on like an expert panel for moms. And I'm like, how did I get here? But I wanted to share my experiences with moms who were pre-delivery and had not yet given birth to their babies. And I talked about intrusive thoughts and nobody else did. And then I got all these messages from people and had conversations with people who were like, I really liked that session and I kind of have like had that, you know, like trying to tiptoe into it because they didn't feel permission. So part of my joy in this is like, let's talk about it. Let's give everybody permission to have it happen. And gosh, like the last thing we need is to feel shame about what we're experiencing and not get support.
Yeah. That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do think that's a really good segue to, like, even before we started recording, you were saying you feel light, you feel breezy. And like, that's kind of a post-baby thing.
Yeah.
I just want to hear more about that. It feels very related.
You know, what's funny is one of the first people I interviewed in 2020, like when I first joined the team, so 2022, she is a psychologist that works with entrepreneurs. And something she said to me was that the brain of an entrepreneur kind of resembles the brain of a new mother. And I never forgot that. And I was like, oh, like this show is something that I created. I didn't get like told to do it, right? And so this was my baby. And now I have another baby. And so like there are things with that first baby that, I held so tightly. And I can look back now, and I mean, I was feeling some of that probably right up until my mat leave. Like there were things I was holding so tightly around the work I was doing and the way it was getting done. I mean, all of these different things that I just wanted to control, and I don't feel that anymore, and not in a bad way. I feel it in like a healthy way. I've just opened. I'm like, I am open.
It makes me think like to open yourself up to curiosity, you have to release your grip a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see like what new things you're curious about. And how it
and I don't
comes
even
into
know.
the show.
I know. It's like, I don't know. And it's kind of fun to just not be so tight about things. Yeah. I will actually add that something I started doing during my mat leave at month like 3 was I hadn't been writing in my 5-minute journal, which is the way that I practice gratitude. And I hadn't been doing it for a long time. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. And part of the reason was I really committed during my maternity leave to be fully present. And a friend of mine said to me at one point in like the 3rd week of Millie's time on the earth, he was like, don't wish anything away. Jonathan Fields, who has a show called The Good Life Project and also Sparked. And so he was like, don't wish any moment away. And I was like, you're right. I'm not wishing anything away, not the late nights, nothing. And so I truly stuck to that and then added my gratitude in because I was feeling like there are so many things going on in my life right now that I want to be grateful for. And moments go by so fast. And I knew even at the start of mat leave when I was like, bye, and I was so sad to leave you two, like you just realize it feels like we snapped our fingers and here we are.
Yeah.
And so I want to add that because I do think it's really important to practice what you preach, but also, the gratitude thing is really simple and it's honestly changed how I felt. I think if I hadn't have started to do that, the energy I'm showing up with now would not be the same. I'm different and I want to keep that different feeling. So what's the other thing that you asked me about is work. So, I mean, day one, I had a lot of adrenaline. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to work. Like it felt like back to school. I put on my clothes. I was like, I'm going to get on the train. Tim does drop off in the morning, so I don't have to worry about going to drop her off and like getting overheated because like we carry her. I'm just like, oh, I'm in a great spot. So I get down to the office. I'm super happy. It's a fantastic day. Day 2, I wake up and like everything seems to have just shifted. Like it was like we couldn't figure out who was doing what. Do we take the stroller or the carrier? I want the stroller. He wants the carrier. It's like things that you're like, how are we arguing about this right now?
Yeah.
And then like my outfit, I was like, my outfit's everything was falling apart. And I'm just like, I just got to go. And so I like fly out of the front door and I turn back around and I was like, God, why did I just start all of these? I pulled all these threads loose and then I was like, bye. And I just walked back in and I was like, I miss her. And I just like bawled and he just hugged me and he was like, I know, this is really tough. And like, I was then the woman on the train who was like on the express train going downtown in my sunglasses, kept them on underground and was just bawling my eye. Like I could
honestly,
not
chic.
stop. I know, not kind of chic. I also couldn't find a seat, so I felt even more chic because I was just like standing.
I love crying on a train. Like,
what? And then you think
so
like,
New York.
you're like, what do people think is going on with me? Like, so that was me just like wiping tears under my glasses, my sunglasses. And I just couldn't stop crying. And I got into the office and saw Jessie, who runs Hello Monday. And she's like, how you doing? And I was like, I'm unwell. Like today I'm unwell. And she got it. And that's one of the cool things about working with people who do have children. Like I didn't even think about that as a thing that I would care about until having a baby and going, oh, we get it. It's like you kind of entered this club where you just know the person's going to get what you're going through, even if you have completely different stories and experiences. So I think, number one, I literally salute every person who has come back to work as a parent. A friend of mine said to me, it feels like you sit down and your brain's split in half. And I was like, yeah, you feel a little broken brained. Like a lot of our calls or like our conversations so far, like I'm surprised I'm actually talking like this right now because I haven't been able to put together like a sentence because my mind's been so focused on a baby and caring for this thing. And this is a different side of me. And so like that side's been off for so long, which I'm so happy. And it's so crazy to be in a meeting like I am now, you know, every day going, how do I say this thing I'm trying to say in some like smart way that sounds corporate and worky, even though my brain hasn't used half of these words in like 6 months.
You started talking like a human again.
Circle back. I'm like, I know, but Millie and I were not talking about circle back. Yeah.
The low-hanging fruit.
Right. Low-hanging fruit has literally been her little toy that's in the tent for the last like 5 months that she's batting at.
Well, okay, so now that you are back, that means that Grace and I, it's time for us to step back behind the curtain.
Never to be heard from again.
Why do I feel like you're excited about this? There's like smiles everywhere.
No. As I've said before, it's very unusual for podcast producers to be as front and center as Emily and I have been for the past few months. We've learned a lot. We've had a lot of fun. And I'm not sad to go back to the control room. Your job is really hard, Leah.
Thank you.
And I love my job as a producer. Like this experience has reaffirmed that for me.
Well, you know, we were talking about this the other day. Like, number one, you guys are incredible. Like, unbelievable. The fact that I could go be with my baby and not think about this is obviously part of LinkedIn's policy around how we leave and Matt leave. But it's also the fact that I could trust the two of you and I just believe in you so much that it never crossed my mind that there'd be an issue. And how funny that the other day we were talking about the fact that you're like, I'm ready to go back behind the curtain. And I'm like, I can't imagine being back there, you know? And it's so nice, right? It's like I don't know if you guys have seen that movie Soul, but it's like we all are, I don't know, wired to do different things really well, you know? And so like, I know that if I went back there and tried to like do the chords, that you can already tell how badly it would go.
Do the chords. I love it.
Emily, we do the chords so good.
We do the chords. Yeah.
That's going to be my recommendation for you guys.
They did the chords.
If you ever need a reference, I'll say they did the chords well.
Well, ultimately, we just wanted to say it's been such a pleasure to support you, Leah, during this special time, but also to get a chance to connect with and speak directly to our listeners, which is not something that normally happens. So we just want to take a minute to say to you, our listener, thank you for sticking with us and for being part of this journey.
And they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'll bring them back out at some point. I'll force them from behind the curtain. Guys, if I end up producing this show, it will be terrible. So we can't do it for long, but
we'll teach you how to do the chords. Yeah.
I do chords.
Who wants to do the credits?
I think we should pass them back to Leah.
Here we go. Everyday Better is a production of LinkedIn News. The show is produced by Grace Rubin and Emily Reeves. Asaf Gadron is our sound engineer. Tim Boland mixes our show. We get additional support from Alex Kutsian-Sova and Ali McPherson. Sarah Storm is our senior producer. Dave Pond is head of production and creative operations. Maya Pope-Chappelle is director of content and audience development. Courtney Koop is head of original programming. Dan Roth is the editor-in-chief and VP of content development at LinkedIn. And I'm Leah Smart. Thanks for coming with us, and we'll see you next week.